Every year there's a name or two that no one saw coming when it gets closer to the 53-man cutdowns. Last year, Everson Griffin was waived. That surprised folks. But then there's always a young guy that you hoped they were still focused on, like developing, that maybe you hadn't heard much about, like a Drew Samia or Hercules Mataafa, both cut last season. Bring the heat. Turn up the spice level to the blazing, and give me a surprise veteran cut that you could see take place with the Vikings and this new regime that we know has no current ties to the majority of this roster built by Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer.
Yeah, I mean, and going back to that Griffin thing too, there's a lot of weird shenanigans that teams can do with rosters these days because they've got those expanded practice squads. They've got veteran spots on those roster or on those practice squads. Sometimes there's contractual benefit to waiving a guy and then like handshake agreement will sign you right back. So that was kind of an odd one last year. This year, I look at the right guard spot and I look at all of the veterans they brought in. And if you crunch the numbers, they can't all possibly be on this roster. It just does not work. You can't keep 4 tackles, Garrett Bradbury, Ezra Cleveland, and then 5 right guards. It doesn't work that way. So I certainly, almost guaranteed, you are going to have a cut between the following players: Jesse Davis, Chris Reed, Austin Schlottman, Oli Udoh. Not all of them can make it. And you've got, pretty small contracts, pretty small guarantees. I think Jesse Davis, though, could be a cut. I just look at his track record in Miami, and I'm a big PFF believer when it comes to offensive line. It's not like the guy's been up and down. He's just been down.
Yeah.
He's never had a great season, and I know he started a bunch of games, and that can be a little bit deceiving to the eye when you look at that and you say, guy started 3-4 years, he must be decent, but his production has not been. And I can't imagine that Dolphins fans were in love with Jesse Davis either. A lot of fans are informed about this kind of thing. And from what I've seen, they were a little bit relieved to get rid of him, to be honest with you. So I think Jesse Davis could be on the hot seat if we see the slightest improvement from Ed Ingram, if we see that Chris Reed can fill in, and we know that Oli Udoh is sitting back there. Maybe he's improved a bit. Wyatt Davis is still, on that possible improvement track. So I think that a guy like Jesse Davis could be vulnerable if there are some younger guys that might be able to fill in. What do you think? Surprise veteran cut.
Well, first of all, I guess it's finally time to part with my Willie Beavers rookie card. You didn't even mention him. Doesn't sound like he's going to pan out like we thought, but not to fear. I can update my entire collection with Sport Card Investor. Sport Card Investor, it's completely free, and you can browse from over 630,000 cards at any given time. Download the Sports Card Investor app today. Available for free in the Google Play or Apple stores, and go to sportscardinvestor.com/lockedon. Yeah, Jesse Davis, that's a good one because some people say, well, that's not that big of a name. That's not a huge surprise veteran cut. Well, it kind of is because the first thing they did when this new coaching staff got into OTAs is they plugged in Jesse Davis as the starting right guard. So it would be a little bit of a surprise. Maybe they had a backup plan as far as slowly grooming the younger guys like Ed Ingram, the second-round pick, Wyatt Davis, long-term plan. So that would be a surprise. Oli Udoh was mentioned by Kevin Seifert last week as a vet who could be called to the office in a few weeks. That would be a surprise just because he's still so young, only 25 years old, and he started 16 games last season. I mean, that's just a lot of valuable reps and a lot of serious valuable playing time to help his development. Now, he was one of the league's entire leaders in penalties, so we know he's got to drastically improve there, but the talent and physical ability is in the toolbox, so that would make sense when you think about they drafted another second-round guard. They're bringing in not one but 2 vets to compete. Jesse Davis, as mentioned, Chris Reed, who apparently, again, have already jumped him on the depth chart for now from what we gleaned at OTA's training camp. Another big tall tale sign. But another one, I hate to say it because it's only this guy's second year and he was drafted in the 3rd round. So you'd hate to cut ties already, but we didn't see a lick of him last season. And I just have no idea what we're supposed to expect from Chaz Surratt. Former quarterback turned linebacker. He was supposed to be this nice athletic addition to the linebacking depth and someone you could develop. They just may not want to spend the time and sit around and say, all right, let's see if he's going to transition to the NFL like this old regime did. They may get him into camp and say he's just still so far away from becoming a tributor. They already brought in Jordan Hicks. They drafted Brian Asamoah. You've got Troy Dye, who's at least got experience on special teams and has seen some live game action. It would be a huge bummer for me as a draft guy to see a wasted third-round pick like that just get thrown in the trash. But with a new coaching staff, no one's safe. We talked a lot about this 2021 class. Chaz Surratt could be one of those cut casualties as they start to trim down the roster, eventually making to the final 53.